When I was there, we were seeing what we would see is the civilian populace. You would suddenly see the civilian populace disappear, or we'd be
Oh
sitting
yeah,
there like in the green zone, and all of a sudden you'd see all the women and kids gathering their like goats and shit and getting out of the area. There'd be flat or kites being flown, where they're all signaling each other, and then it was like, oh shit, something's about to happen. Was it kind of
yeah.
like that there too? Was it
Oh
still
yeah,
the same way?
yeah. We usually bounced in the morning on patrol right at dawn. As soon as the sun came up and we got all our shit together and we would step. So it was around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and sure enough, they saw us leave. They left. They
Mm-hmm.
would walk towards the brown zone, and we knew right then. It was like, all right, well, Taliban's in the area. We gotta stand by, and as soon as so there was a tree line that was almost immediately to our west of PB Fahim. PB Fahim was like a little diamond shape or a triangle shape PB that kind of faced northwest. And as soon as and there was a tree line right almost maybe a couple hundred feet to our west. And then there was another tree line, and it seemed like in between those two tree lines there was like a little canal system and whatever. And it seemed like as soon as we reached that second tree line, it was game on. You know, every time.
Yeah.
Just like because it kind of opened up a little bit more. There was a little more open areas where they could shoot at us easier while we're crossing a field or whatever. But there was also a pretty big. It was the village of Kodase, and there was a pretty big system of compounds and low walls and canals that were like a maze, and you, it's easy to channel us into that shit and um, and hit us with a machine gun, which
Yeah.
happened. Happened a couple times.
Yeah. I don't want it to sound like, Marines were out there just taking casualties and not giving anything back. How
Oh, we were
what
whooping ass too.
Yeah, let's hear like what was the effect of the Marines on the enemy? What were you seeing there in these engagements?
We took out a lot. I can remember one day in particular. It was we had come back. My squad had come back from an overnight, kind of like an OP, you know, OPLP observation post, listening post, and we were trying to ambush the enemy, trying to get the upper hand on them when they came out early in the morning. We were already going to be there and we were going to light them up. Whatever, didn't happen. So we were walking back to the PB, and the other squad was walking out to start their patrol. And I remember we crossed paths, and I told the lead sweeper, who was an engine, who was not an engineer, he was a grunt, and I just told him, I gave him a pound. I said, just be careful out there, And we went back to base, started taking off all our gear. We were gonna, rest for a little bit and go on post, clean our weapons, all that good stuff. And it wasn't maybe 20 minutes later, we heard a burst of gunfire, and they came into contact, and one of their Marines was shot, and we got the call to be the QRF. So we ran out there, and I swept as fast as I could to the area where they were, and I remember coming up to the corner where they were, and I was coming up to them, and I could see rounds impacting the ground, like kind of like walking it up on us as we were walking up on the corner. And I told my mortarman, I was like, it's coming from that compound. And he took his 61 and or 61 or 60s.
60s.
60. He took a 60, and he asked me how far it was. I just yelled out what I thought the distance was, and sure enough, it happened to be spot on, and it landed right in the middle of the compound.
That's a good mortarman right there.
Yeah, and we had Gunner Marine with us, and he went out with us as QRF, and we got into a pretty big firefight that time. Long story short, we made a dynamic breach. I blew out the wall. We ran into there, and we saw some blood trails and all that stuff. And we got word through ICOM chatter later that he had killed like 4 of them. So that was a good day for us. It was a bad day for us too, because we lost another Marine that day. But I saw an amazing act of valor and just being a hero that day. It was another Marine that ran into basically the fray and picked up his brother that was no longer with us, and carried him out. I'll never forget that image, that I turned around during this firefight and saw him carrying his buddy. That was one of his really good friends, and carrying it to the truck, but I know you wanted something juicy and good, and I brought it to another dark place, but
Hey, man, that's the reality of war, man.
yeah, but we ended up killing 4 of them that day, and there was other days where we took out other ones that were fighting with us and taking pop shots at us. I took out a lot of sniper positions, murder holes. Murder hole is basically a hole for just big enough for you to look out, and a rifle to point the muzzle out and shoot at us. So I got the permission to blow a lot of those up, and a lot of sniper hides and fighting positions. So I got to use a lot of my demo.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're carrying it, might as well use it, right?
yeah. I in a squad like that, you kind of share the wealth, and C4 doesn't weigh that much. It's just like a pound each stick or something like that, 1.25 pounds a stick. And but I would have like 12 of them, 16 of them. So I would divvy them out, just like the rest of the squad would divvy out their mortars or their fucking ammo and all this stuff. But the guys I was with, some of them were really scared to carry the C4. I was like, nothing's gonna happen to you. It's not gonna blow up on you. You need heat and friction. And the likelihood of that happening while you're carrying it is very unlikely.
Does it feel weird to walk around as a civilian now and think back, like, man, I used to carry around like 10 pounds of C4 in my backpack? That was part of my job.
It's pretty wild, yeah.